Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel with Aging Advantage. Aging Advantage is a nonprofit that assists disabled adults and seniors in the St. Louis area. And today we're going to play a playback video that was pre recorded by Lila on Teepa Snow.
Hello, I'm Lila Shepley, Geriatric Care Manager with Aging Advantage and A Plus Aging. Today we're going to talk about Teepa Snow and her brain change model called the GEMS. I'm going to read just a little intro on Teepa if you're not familiar with her. She is absolutely brilliant, dynamic, certainly one of the thought leaders in dementia and how to communicate best with those living with dementia. She's from North Carolina. She graduated from Duke. She received her master's. She's worked as part of the Duke University Medical Center's neuro rehab team, as part of University of North Carolina's geriatric clinic, as an OT director in a head injury facilitator, a clinical specialist in geriatrics for a Veterans Administration Medical Center, as a therapist and restorative care coordinator at long-term care facilities. It goes on and on. If you've ever seen her live or watched her videos, you know she has energy that absolutely never, ever, ever ends. She currently has a clinical appointment with Duke University School of Nursing. If you've ever seen her live, you know she's a combination of a doer, a watcher, and a talker. She's an amazing, amazing, inspirational person. And if you're not familiar with her or not that familiar with her, definitely check out her website. It's brand new. They really worked on that during COVID. It's a fabulous website. But today we're going to talk about her GEMS, the GEMS. This is a model of brain change that she didn't develop, but I don't know the entire history, but she's the one that really brought it to light and has made it what it is currently. Let's see, the recap on brain change model is the only constant with dementia or brains in general is that they are ever changing. All humans experience brain change every day. This GEMS model, developed by Teepa Snow, but based on the Allen cognitive scale, that's what I was thinking of, recognizes the shifts in our skills and abilities in any given moment. With dementia, while the progression pattern and changes may look very different for each type of dementia, the movement through the GEM stages is somewhat predictable. Your understanding of the remaining abilities at each step of this journey can make a world of difference. A quote of Teepa's is, "Just like gems, each person is precious, valuable, unique, and given the right setting and care, can shine." And she lives that. She lives that completely. She doesn't just talk about it. So the gem stages begin with sapphire. Sapphires are true blue. And I do have to read through this, and I'm sorry, but it is so much information to remember. The sapphires, anyway, are true blue. It's normal aging, all right? Adaptable. The brain is still healthy and flexible, optimal cognition, and can provide support for those living in other gem states. There's less peripheral vision, but that is common as we age. So, you can't see your fingers wiggling all the way out to the side, so your peripheral's coming in. Again, normal aging. Abilities for a sapphire, again, normal vision with narrowing peripheral. Language and expressive, a bit slower, maybe some word finding problems, some pauses. For language and receptive, you can be challenged in loud, crowded spaces, but that can be true for anybody, any age. Body skills, maybe moving a little more slowly than when younger, but again, pretty much everything's intact, just normal aging. The next stage is diamonds. Diamonds, they like to know who's in charge, who the authority is. And for the rest of the gems, I'm not going to go through each one just like I did. That's all on her website. I'm going to go through some ways that you can care for somebody in each gem state and things to be aware of that will help you be a better care partner, whether they're your client, resident in your community, or a loved one. Okay, so again, diamonds. Diamonds the next. Diamonds, that's when you might be beginning to think, something's a little off with mom. Or she's edgier than she was before, a little crabbier. Something's just a little different. So again, diamonds, they like to know who's in charge, who the authority is. They listen when you talk to them as if it's new information almost each time. They use tell me about it to accept stories, to reduce the risk of paranoia, like thinking. Make sure you're connected when you respond. Don't just flip answers out. They need the connection. Repeat their words back to them in the form of a question. Answer their questions. Then use new words with enthusiasm and energy. Add new activities. Go to new places. Apologies such as I'm sorry or I was trying to help, when said sincerely, go a long way with diamonds. You need to be friendly but not bossy with them. Leader to leader. That's the way they like to operate. Leader to leader. For temporary solutions, you can say things like let's try. Use as many of their old habits as possible. Give up being right, go with the flow, let it go. If you're taking a job away from a diamond that might be living in your community, give them something new to do right then, not later. Verbal cues that help with diamonds are knock on their door before entering. Be respectful. Ask permission to do things in their space. Don't come in and just start fussing with their clothes and taking their trash out. Remember, it's their space. Please respect that. Offer positive feedback. Don't give orders. Issue invitations. So don't say, hey, dinner time. Come on. In other words, say things more like, it's dinner time. Would you like to join us? Or, can you come with us? Invitations. Ask for their help. Ask for their support. Ask for their understanding. Some visual cues that help them are personalize their room. A lot of communities have the shadow boxes outside or maybe wreaths on the doors, something that personalizes their space for them. Wayfinding signs, obviously exit, but maybe to the dining hall or whatever, the gym, activity room. Highlighted schedules. Yeah, they're not going to remember. Who remembers their schedule every day anyway? We all have calendars. So do that for your resident or your loved one. A daily calendar. Highlight some things on it. Familiar and inviting environments. Very important. Place cards at the table are helpful. Then you don't have to think, oh, I don't remember where I was sitting yesterday or the day before, and all the days have probably run together. So place cards are helpful. They enjoy, so for their interest, and now we're still with diamonds. We're still at the very beginning stage of this. And they enjoy what they feel competent at, just like the rest of us. They like who they like, just like the rest of us. They like activities that make them feel valued, not just place fillers in the day. Sometimes some just entertainment, like we watch Netflix or whatever, but for the most part, activities that make them feel valued, that's what's going to hold their interest. They like things that are familiar but interesting. And their characteristics at this stage, they like routine. They can complete all their own personal care if the space is familiar. So make the bathroom, set up the bathroom in a familiar way. They can follow simple prompted schedules for the most part. They may misplace things and can't find them, but that may not really stand out because I think that happens to everybody. They really resent being bossed around. They will notice your mistakes and misbehavior immediately and call you on it. They might even tell the authorities about it. They're very, very, very territorial. Again, knock when entering. Can I come in? Is it all right if I change your bed? All right. They can follow written information. They still need us to work with them, though. But they can still typically choose their behaviors. So don't be fooled. Those diamonds, they still know what's going on. Again, very beginning stages. This is when you just think, something's off with mom. I can't put my finger on it. I just can't put my finger on it, but something's changing. Emeralds. So now we've had sapphires, diamonds. Now we're going to talk about emeralds. Emeralds. Emeralds, what color are emeralds? Green. Green means go. Emeralds are on the go, on the go, on the go, with purpose. A lot of repeating. Emeralds usually the state when families start really reaching out for help. Because as we go through some of the characteristics, who are they and their interests and things, this is when it becomes very challenging for family members, for loved ones. Emeralds, their peripheral vision has come in even more. We're not even at this anymore, we're at this. Okay, so peripheral is gone, not totally gone, but pretty much gone. They can't see what's going on around them. And if you're walking through a store like this and you can't see anything around you, you are going to be walking into people, crushing your cart into things, and people are going to just think you're rude and misbehaving or whatever. You're not. You've lost your peripheral vision. So emeralds, who are they? They're not as well kept as before, frequently refusing guidance or assistance, especially if pushed. Be careful, they follow people around. And if you work in a community setting with dementia, you will be followed around a lot. Those are emeralds for the most part. They roam and they look a lot. They also isolate in their room a lot. They're sundowning. It's getting worse as the day goes on. It's getting worse. Very short fuses, lots of explosions, tears, giggles. They do things until they are done over and over. So if they're folding a napkin, they're not gonna stop that halfway. It's not gonna be finished till it's finished. Or if they're packing their suitcase to go home, or if they're cleaning out their closet, they're gonna keep doing it over and over and over until it's done. They will ask, what do I do next? What do I do next? Where do I need to go? Where do I need to go? What's next? What's next on? I need to, where am I? Lots of that, anxiety with that. A lot of, I need to go home. I need to go home. I need to go to work. I need to go to work. I'm late for work. I need to go to work. Panic. Okay. They're hyper focused or unable to stay focused at all. They're very, very afraid of making mistakes and getting caught. Kind of sneaky at this stage, you know. Probably why a lot of things in the home, they don't go missing, but they're kind of tucked away, and then no one can find them. They're attention seekers or attention avoiders. So they're either right in the thick of things stirring it up, or they're hiding in their room. They need help, but they don't know it. They don't know it. They like to play games. Ask them if they want to play games. Games are fun, but they don't follow the rules. So be prepared for that. They're not going to follow the rules. So again, be prepared. Be prepared. Be flexible. if you want a successful game playing experience. They can go through the motions but get very tangled up in the specifics. They are very, very fearful of people thinking they're stupid. They may verbally strike out if threatened. And I noticed in the dementia resident neighborhood in the community, a lot of verbal striking out if they felt threatened, in any way threatened, whether it was their intelligence or their ability or their wayfinding or the way they hung their clothes in their closet. They may also physically lash out if cornered, so be very careful. If an emerald is getting agitated, you are to step out of arm's reach. Okay? They want to be themselves as they were. To decrease the elopement risk, you need to fill each day and balance each day. Don't just go activity to activity to activity. No one can keep up with it. Balance it. Activity, rest, maybe a snack. Another activity, rest, maybe a snack. Have a flow, a very consistent flow, but keep that day filled and balanced. Very important for old familiar activities. As the day ends, use more simplified and motor-oriented activities. They're getting tired. And they're starting to sound sundown. Okay? And you can go from familiar to unfamiliar and back and forth, back and forth. This is a good time to start having activity boxes, and you have them ready to go. Don't have to go all the way down the hall to the activity room, into the locked closet. You don't have the key. Not the time for that. See if there's any place you can tuck some activity boxes. I don't know. Sorting out silverware, whatever. Be creative, come up with what's appropriate for the skill set of that particular person or a group of people, and just have a little box of it ready to go. Interests are familiar, do familiar tasks. Historic tasks and people and places are interesting to them. They love to engage and to help others, again, to have a job and a purpose. They're an adult and like to be an adult. They like to finish something and start something else. Very, very, very busy, these emeralds. Again, this is when families start really panicking and reaching out for help. Visual cues that help. Let's see, they need surfaces to work on and do things on. They need surfaces. They need chairs, places to sit. They need props that are set up and objects that tell them what to do. They need things to look friendly and fun and familiar and forgiving. Give two choices. Use a friendly tone and facial expression. Listen and use their words. When they become distressed, listen for their key words. Use empathetic comments. Go with their flow. Don't push for a change. This is not the time for that. If they're getting distressed, use redirection, not distraction. To engage them, do the activity with or to someone else first. Then approach them. Use phrases with them if they're getting distressed. Tell me about. And then fill that in with, tell me about, whatever, your dog. Did you have a dog? Tell me about your beautiful pearls. Where did you get those? Why do you love them so much? So balance the feeling valued with having fun, with sleep and rest and re-energizing. So that's the emerald. The next state is amber. Okay, we have amber, ruby, and pearl left. So this is the amber. Ambers have progressed quite a bit. By now, ambers are most likely, if they're going to be moved into a community environment, they have been moved, or home help has been hired to be in the house, or siblings are taking turns around the clock. It's progressing rapidly. It's exhausting for everybody involved. Ambers are very much, they live in the moment. They're caught in a moment of time. They're very, very curious, but they're not cautious anymore. This is a lot of safety going. Safety awareness is, well, now gone. Um, they copy your actions. They resist dislikes. They confuse objects. They're very focused on sensory, on touch. They want to touch. They want to touch, 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 touch. So anything you have on, they're going to touch. I would not wear these if I were working in the dementia neighborhood. Touch, touch, touch. They might get pulled, and I don't want to have to say stop. They've lost a lot of object recognition, their binocular vision getting smaller, again, very repetitive. Their interests, they like to mess with. Mess, 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 pick, 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 mess, mess, mess. They're going around the room and they're messing with. They like to explore. They like things to take and eat and handle and move, a lot of things going on with their hands. Visually interesting things are fun for them. People who look or sound interesting, fun hair, fun sweater on. They also like quiet, private places. Remember, got to balance the day with everybody, not just with those living with dementia. They like textures and shape and movement and colors and numbers and stacking and folding and sorting. This is a great time to have help with your dietary. We used to, at the community I worked in, we would bring in napkins for a couple of the residents. Not all of them were interested, but just the same old basket of washcloths or napkins every day. We'd bring them in and ask them to get those folded. It would really help housekeeping, that kind of thing. And that was very well received. Not forever and not with everybody again, but it was very a good activity. Pardon me. Challenges of care with Ambers, they'll get into things and they take things and they have absolutely no idea of personal space. They're bothering others. They're going in and out of rooms. They're unable to let their needs be known to you. They may not understand what and why caregivers are doing what they're doing, and they don't like the sensation of being touched and handled and helped, and they're not liking their bath and their shower at this point for the most part. Behavioral repetition of sounds and words and actions over and over. They're resisting their care, and it becomes very challenging. Visual cues that help Ambers are automatic social greetings and signals, well-lighted surfaces with very strong visual props. Demonstrations are important at this point on how to do things. Model the actions that are desired. If you want to wash their face and they don't want you to touch them, model it, and then hand them the washcloth. Do the action one time, then offer a prop, show one step at a time, show a new item, substitution, then cover up the old one. So if Susie has taken my purse and I want my purse back, for example, and things like that happen, you need to be prepared for that. You need to show something else to Susie, get her interested in something else, and take yours away. Don't just yank it away. That's not nice. Remember, everyone living with dementia is doing the best they can with what they have at that moment. Okay, they're not trying to be naughty. Verbal cues that help Ambers are to use their name. Susie, Cookie, very simple, one word, noun, verb, noun, verb. Susie, let's go. Well, that's two words, but noun, verb, okay? Use gestures when possible with words. Come on, eat, cookie. Positive feedback, listen for their words, repeat the words back and wait for more. Limit the talking and noise. Substitute, do not subtract. Rubies. Rubies is next. Rubies, big progression here. Rubies, hold on one sec. Let's see. Rubies. Rubies are very, very strong. Very strong. They get a hold of your hand or your wrist, and I promise you, you are locked in. until they've changed their mind. Okay? It can hurt. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just very, very strong. They have lost their skills, though, holding forks or holding a brush and brushing their hair. They're strong. They have big actions. They still have a lot of rhythm, loving to dance and to move. They might be off balance. Might need to help a lot here. They will be off balance, especially when walking, because this is big vision change time. They do notice your tone of voice, very much so. And they're either very still or they're in motion, but their vision now, so it's gone from like a scuba mask to binoculars to monocular. One, everything's one, which means you've lost all depth perception. Lots of falls, lots of walking into things and stumbling over things and lighting and carpet. And if you go from tile to carpet or one room to another and there's any lighting change or furniture, there's no depth perception. Lots of stumbling, lots of falls. Rubies, and they walk. They're walkers. This is a big walking stage. Walk a routine path and walk and walk and walk, and they go forward. They're losing their ability. They probably can't go backwards anymore. They've lost that. So they're going forward and forward and forward, and they're watching others and picking things up and holding and carrying and rubbing and pushing and big motor. Big motor. Fine motor's gone. Big motor. The care issues are the safety, mobility, fatigue, wandering, falls, their intake and their amount and their safety with that, hydration, their interest in even drinking anything, and the amount, their rest time and place, the lots of nighttime waking and walking. They shadow others, they invade others' places. That concept of personal space that was going before, it is gone. There's, for a lot of them, very little settling down for meals, so they're not going to sit down at dinner time and enjoy a good meal for the most part. So you really have to make sure, lots of finger foods, okay? Lots of finger foods, probably big messes at this time. We're talking generally for this stage, all right? Their reaction to hands-on care, the sensations might be bothering them. Touch might bother them. The skin bruises and tears, lots of rashes, lots of UTIs and URIs and pneumonia. Swallowing becomes an issue. Circulation's becoming an issue. Visual cues that help demonstrate what you want, give big movements they can copy, move slowly and with rhythm. Present their cues in central vision. Remember, 12 to 18 inches out. Hold things still and allow for exploration. Offer your hand. Smile. Remember, when they get your hand, they might be hanging on for a long time. So don't think it might be just a quick handhold. So if you're the helper, here's some habits you need to break at this point. Startling. Don't touch too quickly. It will not end well. Leaning in. That's intimate space invasion. They don't like that. 18 inches out, unless you're invited in, or even further, unless you're invited in. Talking too loudly. Baby talking is really big at this stage. And caregivers don't mean any harm by that, but it is. It is harmful, and it does not show respect. Or you're not talking to them at all. You're sitting there playing on your phone. Not a good idea. They still pick up on that. They notice. We know when someone's with us and when they're not. Need to show by demonstrations. Need to try to understand what they're trying to communicate without being confrontational. Okay, it's tough. I mean, these are some tough stages for sure. But if you need a break, take a break. Especially if you're in a community environment, or actually if you're at home. If you need a break, you need to find someone to give you a break. Right? These are very, very challenging and trying times. The end stage is Pearl. Pearl, they're hidden in a shell. Chances are curled up. They're ruled by their reflexes. Let's see. They express their unmet needs with a lot of distress and groaning and moaning. They react to touch, but they can recognize familiar, and they like that. Limited visual, very, 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 very limited visual. Mostly immobile at this point, and they seem like they're not there, but they're there. They're very much there. All right. So the characteristics of a pearl is the end of the journey is near. Multiple systems are failing. They're immobile. They can't get started on anything. They're either bedbound or chairbound. They frequently fall side to side. They sleep a lot, startle very easily, primitive reflexes. They may cry out or mumble constantly. Increased vocalization with distress. Difficult to calm. They know the familiar with the unfamiliar, though, so don't be fooled. Touch and voice make a huge difference, okay, with them. Their interests, they like pleasant and familiar sounds and voices. They want to hear the ones they love, whether it's a co-worker or a family member, I mean, a co-worker, a caregiver or a family member. If it's a familiar voice, they want to hear it, and they want to hear pleasant tones. They don't want to hear, oh, stop your moaning, quit moving around. No, none of us want to hear that, and they don't either. They like warmth and comfort and soft textures, soft blinkies, pleasant smells and good taste, slow and smooth movement. All right. They're ruled by their reflexes, totally ruled by it at this stage in the pearl, in the end of the journey is near stage. Sudden movement will cause total body motion. They grip hard and they can't release. It's not that they're choosing not to, they can't. So be careful with that. They suck anything that's near their mouth. They'll turn away from facial touch and try to eat. Any touch in the mouth will cause them to bite down hard. Anything in the mouth causes the tongue to push forward and out, and any touch to the tongue causes gagging. Ruled by reflexes. The care challenges are there's little interaction ability, 100% caregiving now. They can't make their needs known. Their skin and hygiene issues are very difficult at this stage. A lot of weight loss, repeated infections. Reflexes make caregiving, care tasks very difficult. They're not really eating or drinking much, and they're not able to sit up safely. Visual cues to help pearls. Be in a supportive position. Place your face in their central field of vision. Be sure the light is behind them and onto your face, not behind your face so that you're in a shadow. That would be very scary. Light, need some light here. For transition time, let's say from night to day, bring the lights on slowly. Don't come in and just whap them all on and the whole room is lit up. Okay? Moves very slowly so they can track and follow you. And show items to be used in central vision. So if you're going to put some some petroleum jelly on their lips, central vision. Verbal cues, deep and calm tone, rhythm to your voice. Tell pearls what you are doing, why you're doing it, what's happening, and reflect the emotions you think you see. Short phrases as you offer care. Touch cues to help pearls, firm and gentle palm pressure at their joints to make contact. Try to always maintain contact with one hand. So if you're putting lotion on with the right hand, maybe keep your left hand on their shoulder or on their side. Instead of pulling back and forth and back and forth. So you're not touching, then you're touching. And now that's startling. Okay. Once physically connected, stay connected. Okay. Gather all supplies for the task that you're going to do before you get started. If you're doing a bed bath, which is really all that's possible at this point, increase the warmth of the room for bathing and use warm towels. Circular, rotational, soft movements to relax the joint of care. This is a good time to really think about how you would like to be treated and what you like. And this is probably a good time today, while you're still able to think these things through and to make choices, to actually start keeping a little journal or a notebook or a something of how you would like to be cared for. Maybe you hate back rubs. Maybe you love them. Nobody knows that unless you've written it down. Okay. Or no one's going to remember that when they need to. Believe me, there's too much else going on. Anyway, I hope you've learned a bit about Teepa and her gems. She has a fabulous new, brand new this last year app for your phone, and it's called, sorry, I've got it on, so she's talking. Teepa Snow's Gems. And amazing amounts of information in there, so you don't have to remember a thing I said. But read through that, go through the gems one by one. Try, it's a wonderful, valuable tool. So I hope you've learned a few things, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lila. That was such great information. The main thing that hit me was thinking about how I would want to be treated, being cared for. So I really like that saying.
That's cool. And I thought too, like I've said before, I've worked with a lot of seniors in my career time, and I've never thought of, like she was saying, talking about the gyms. So that was like really neat to me and different, um, always, some really good information that she has to share with us. And I'm so grateful for the information. Um, Again, I learned something as well just talking about when she was mentioning like the place settings or something like that, placemat, something having to do with place settings so it can be familiar to them. Haven't thought about that, so I enjoyed that as well. So yeah, she talks about a lot of good stuff. She gives us a lot of good information. Greatly appreciate that, Miss Lila.
We have a commenter. Had the opportunity to see Teepa in person. She is very dynamic. Lila did a great summary of a lot of the information. Thank you.
That was good then. So you actually had somebody on here that actually met her. So that was nice, huh? It was really neat. Well, maybe one day Rachel and I will meet her too.
Yeah,
You
that'd be
never know.
awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we'll wrap up now, but thank you for joining us today.